Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I want to talk about the square between Jupiter and Saturn in the natal chart and what this means when someone has this aspect in their birth chart. So Jupiter is the planet of expansion and luck. And Jupiter in your chart, whichever sign house it's coming through, shows your natural ability to achieve in that area of life and within the realm of what the sign represents through that area of your life, that house. And the reason it represents this is because Jupiter represents things that we're good at. I kind of attribute Jupiter to natural talents that one might have. It is a generational planet, but generational planets can be influencing us, obviously, in personal ways. Otherwise, they wouldn't carry any sense of weight for our charts, but they do. They're very important. These planets, Jupiter and Saturn, they're actually next to each other naturally in astrology. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, Saturn rules Capricorn, the 9th sign and the 10th sign. So this is like linking the 9th house and the 10th house. Saturn, on the other hand, is about restriction and slow progress, steady growth, steady success that is achieved through working for it. It's not as effortless as Jupiter, because Jupiter just kind of gets what it wants depending on its placements. And now with this aspect, it doesn't really feel like that. And Jupiter and Saturn, in my opinion, because I know some people just see Jupiter as the superego, but I think of Jupiter and Saturn as the superego in psychology. If you look at Freud's id, ego, superego, the superego is like the part of us that thinks it knows best and is trying to control the id because it thinks the id is crazy and destructive and reckless and is trying to control that. And I feel like Jupiter and Saturn both represent this superego, because Jupiter is about law and growth and expansion. It's like Zeus on Mount Olympus. Zeus kind of ruled over the gods of the heavens. And Saturn is also like that because it's a father figure. It thinks it knows what's best as well and wants to put that kind of responsibility on you in whatever sign house it's coming into, so that you can grow in that area to be good at it, to be the best at it. This is taking optimism and pessimism and making them a square. And if you don't really understand the square aspect, I made a video on the square and how you can kind of understand it. Basically, you got optimism and pessimism fighting it out to be above each other, to have more importance over your chart, over your perspective, over your life. So that's kind of the battle that's going on within you between your two super egos that are really, really loud and big. They take up a big part of your mind because of their size, because they make themselves that size. They make themselves that large, probably because you allow it, but we'll get into that in a minute. Jupiter also represents kind of like the culture that you were raised in. So perhaps your culture, your background, maybe you couldn't have that idealism, that optimism within the context of your culture, because something that you're probably taught, it was like restricted in some way, if that makes sense. Or maybe your cultural teachings involved some kind of discipline or order or structure, or perhaps when you just chose to be that way, someone came down on that optimism and kind of weighed it down. And the way that I can imagine this in someone's chart is that Saturn attempts to constrict, because it's a planet that tries to, hold things down and restrict it. Jupiter is like the biggest planet, right? I mean, besides the sun, if you count it as a planet, it's a star, but Jupiter is humongous and it blows anything up. But Saturn here tries to restrict it and control it and kind of cage it in and trap it, and Jupiter hates that. So what Jupiter does is it gets bigger to overcompensate for Saturn's restriction. So there's this battle going on of Saturn trying to restrict it and Jupiter just blowing up and kind of trying to overshadow the Saturn restriction and limitation, and it causes this like tension of these two archetypes within the signs and houses that they are in your natal chart. So what this does for someone, for their personality, is it can actually make someone, because you know they want to expand beyond the Saturn restriction, it can actually make them kind of test their luck a lot and be maybe a little bit over reckless because they don't want to be limited by this restriction. So they will just push themselves really far from that limiting belief of having a limitation on them. But yet, on the other hand, you can also see this as someone feeling like their optimism and their faith is dampened because they can't trust in their natural ability and their natural talents, their natural skills, their natural faith in life, because that's what Jupiter also represents. This is like a faith in something higher than you, a faith in like a God, in a higher knowing, a higher calling, higher purpose to life in general and to your own life, because this is within you, within your own chart, coming through whatever sign it's in, your faith in that purpose of Jupiter, wherever it's at in your chart. It's like Saturn always restricting it causes one to lack the faith in themselves, basically, within the context of their personal Jupiter, what it represents for them. If you're someone who Jupiter is really important for your chart, it's making a lot of aspects to your personal planets, or you're Jupiter dominant, or Jupiter rules your chart, this is going to really put a damper on your optimism in life, your ability to trust in life, to trust in yourself and your purpose, your ability to naturally succeed with what you were given. It's going to really be hard to have faith in that. So really the lesson is how much do you believe in yourself? How much do you believe in your ability to achieve and to succeed? How much do you believe in your ability to actually practically apply these Jupiterian traits and natural talents and gifts that you have to the world, to actually help you achieve tangible success and tangible results through these abilities? Because Saturn wants you to succeed with your Jupiter. This square is not indiscriminate for your chart. There's a purpose to it, because with Saturn there's always a purpose, and with Jupiter there's always a purpose. There's always a purpose in terms of growth and learning something, in terms of wisdom, and this aspect can give you that if you can learn to appreciate the pragmatism and sensibility of Saturn and why it's influencing your Jupiter in this way. It's because Saturn wants you to actually apply this Jupiter in a way that can actually help you be successful and isn't just overindulging in things for the sake of it. It's like, can you actually apply your Jupiter? And can you actually trust in its ability to bring you the success and the growth that Jupiter is seeking in your chart? So it's an interesting aspect to have. It's kind of like if you think of like a semi-sextile, the way the Sag sign bleeds into the Capricorn sign. It's like Sag, you learn, and then all of a sudden in the 9th house, and then all of a sudden you're in the 10th house, and you are something, you're known for something. But it comes through the growth and the learning of the 9th house to get to that 10th house, that Saturn point. But both of them are about achievement and growth and success. And that's the benefit of this aspect. So I hope this kind of helped you understand it. Thank you for watching.